So the Sicha starts with, of course, obviously quoting the pasuk from the Parshas, Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetziva Hashem Lemor. Yeah, these are the laws of the Torah that Hashem commanded us, which now begins talking about the para aduma, the red heifer. What was the function of the ashes of the red heifer? To purify one who is impure with death. Death impurity being the most impure thing that could possibly be. Absolute opposite of life. The only thing that can purify a person from coming into contact with the dead or coming into contact with someone who came into contact with the dead is the ashes of the red heifer. Zois Chukas HaTorah. Okay? Why does it say that this is the laws of the Torah? Referring to the red heifer. So he said, okay, there's 3 levels of mitzvah, mishpatim, edus, and chukim. What's a mishpat? What's the category of mitzvah that is a mishpat?
It's the kind you can figure out yourself.
The kind that you figure out yourself. I don't need godly, divine wisdom to figure out don't kill, don't steal, and the like. Just, makes sense, generally good idea. What are edus?
Ones that make sense, but you wouldn't have come up with that.
You would not have come up with them yourself, but ones like Hashem told you about it, and you're like, okay, yeah, I get that, yeah. Like, a bris, for example. Circumcision, I would not have necessarily thought to mutilate my 8-year-old newborn. 8-day-old newborn.
That too.
Yeah. As a sign of making a covenant. As making a covenant with God,
That's not a chukim?
No, that makes sense. I can understand that, right?
Specifically then.
Didn't you ever make a blood brother pact when you were kids? No? We did that. What?
A way of determining that somebody was part of your tribe.
Yeah.
In the days of Abraham.
Yeah, so I get it, right? Like rite of passage, I don't know, you have to cut off a finger or something. Right?
If you don't believe in what he's doing, I'm out of here.
That's right. So okay, fine. A covenant with God, mutilate your 8-day-old newborn. Fine. I would not have come up with that myself, but it makes sense. Edut. And then you have chukim. What are chukim? It makes no logical sense whatsoever. Classic chok, meat and dairy, makes no sense whatsoever. Just literally, we do not have cheeseburgers because God said so. And the reason you can't put bacon on your cheeseburger is for no other reason other than God said no bacon. That's it. There's no logical reason why you shouldn't eat pork. Oh, there was no refrigeration. Oh, you could get salmonella, trichinosis, whatever, yeah? Oh, yeah, whatever. No, okay? We have FDA grown, pork. No problem whatsoever. So does that mean it's okay? No. Sorry, Rabbi Rachel. It's still not okay. Why is it not okay? Because God said so. All right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why can't you eat pork? Why can't you mix meat and milk? Right? Why can't you eat shellfish? Oh, they're bottom feeders. Who cares? They're good. Still, can't eat it. There's no reason the Torah gives for it, and it just doesn't make any sense, right? What do you have against creepy crawling creatures? Okay, crawl on the bottom of the ocean, little hot sauce, tomatoes. Yeah. So, but the quintessential, the ultimate example of a chok, which is always used in for example purposes, is the red heifer. Doesn't make any sense, right? Oh, you're impure. And to purify yourself, you got to take a cow, special red cow, shecht it, burn it, take the ashes, make a little cocktail with it, add some like herbs and spices, okay? A little blood of like a turtle dove. And that's what's going to make you pure? Okay, whatever you say, God, I trust you, okay?
Now, question.
Yeah,
Today's Parsha covers this.
that's right.
And Rashi brings in a Midrashic Agada.
Of the guys that came to Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi,
Moshe.
yeah.
And it seems to explain.
Yeah, right. But then what's the end of that midrash? That a student comes up to him.
It didn't include it. So.
Oh, did it include it? I have to look at it. The student, he gave him like a very logical answer. But then the student came up to him. He's like, Rabbi, but you know that's not the answer. He's like, yeah, I know, but he would like if I just told him because God said so, like he wouldn't have got it. So like he made up some like answer.
Rashi did or
No, the rabbi from the Gemara. It's a Gemara. It's a midrash. Maybe I'm quoting. Yeah, so maybe it's quoting another thing, but yeah.
Yeah, because it seems to say that this is because of the sin of the calf.
Right.
The reason it's red.
Right. No, well look.
Just explaining some of the details, but not actually why this mitzvah needs to be done and why it's
I'll be honest with you guys. Even the mitzvahs that are considered to be chukim have reasons for them. And if we were gonna like open up like real like proper like Kabbalistic books that goes into great detail as to why the cow, para, why does it have to be red? And there's a lot of like meaning there, right? So the Kabbalists did come and like explain to us why we're not supposed to do these things, right? Like meat and milk, right? Because like meat is from the side of Gevura, milk is from the side of Chesed. Like these are the Kabbalists coming and saying like that's the reason you don't mix meat and milk, because you don't want to like cross the streams, okay? Remember, Ghostbusters, you don't cross the streams, okay? Yeah, okay, wow. Shalom knows what I'm talking about. Who are you going to call? That's right. All right, anyways. So, but nonetheless, so the chukim, like, at the simple level, the literal, like, pshat level, they don't make any sense. And what doesn't even make any sense is how is it possible that the very thing that purifies the impure impurifies the pure? Yeah, so the Kohen, who was supposed to be pure, that takes the water and like makes the mixture, and he becomes impure. So the very thing that he's like putting on the person is going to make him pure, but he himself becomes impure. So it's like, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Anyways, the Rebbe explains that also as well, but another sikha, that's not our thing.
Well, it's the guy that brings it to him and the Kohen that sprinkles it.
Right. So here, so the Rebbe went into the differences, the advantages and the disadvantages of fulfilling a mitzvah that you understand versus fulfilling a mitzvah that you don't understand. The mitzvah that you understand usually brings a person great joy. Why? Because joy comes from understanding. That Kabbalistically speaking, joy comes from the sphere of Bina, and Bina, it corresponds to understanding. Chokhmah is like wisdom, and then Bina is understanding. So Bina is also the source of joy. So we usually enjoy things that we understand them, right? Which is like why, let's say like, the end of like, some like, movie or story that you heard or movie that you saw. Like whenever there's like a really like crazy ending that just doesn't make any sense, you'll always see there's always like millions and millions of like people like trying to like figure out what did it mean? What did the ending explain, right? Yeah? Because like we just feel very, very uncomfortable with things that we just don't understand. Like I have to understand what is going on here. Like explain to me the story. Explain to me what happened. So mitzvahs that you understand, we usually get more joy from. But the mitzvahs that we don't, I don't really get so much enjoyment out of it because like I don't even really understand why I'm doing this. I'm just doing it because God said so. So that's the advantage versus the disadvantage. However, there's also an advantage of precisely doing a mitzvah that you don't understand. Why? Because if you're doing a mitzvah that you understand, then there's the possibility that you could be so caught up in the reason, in the logic for why you're doing the mitzvah, that you could forget about the most fundamental reason why you're doing the mitzvah in the first place, which is because God said so. So the advantage of observing a mitzvah that is considered a chok is literally like transcending your own logical, like limited mind. And now there's no one but you and God. And that mitzvah is there connecting you and God, right? As soon as there's some like type of like logical understanding, that mitzvah is like connecting you more to you. It's connecting you more to your own mind, right? And so like you're actually like increasing ego and self-centeredness, right? Because now it's about me. Now it's about how much I understand. But as soon as you take that out, now it's just you and God. There's no mind, there's no intellect, and so you've just neutralized that part of the ego that is like, I need to understand. You put that aside, you neutralize that, now it's just bam, you and God. Yes, right? Because there's no other reason to perform that mitzvah other than the fact that that's what God said. Right? So, because you could say like, I don't know, like, Rabbi Rachel would say, oh, you don't eat milk because it's not healthy. Oh, so that's why we do the mitzvah. Because we need to be healthy. Because the Torah says we need to keep our health. What? Rabbi Rachel. Yeah. Ask Yaakov Moshe about Rabbi Rachel. So you're coming up with all these ideas and you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing it. We give tzedakah, right? What do you think? What category is tzedakah? What category? Mishpat, edus, chukim. What? Edus? Mishpatim. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it like clearly said, but like it totally makes sense to like want to like help, right?
I think you're not necessarily going to come up with that yourself. You're not necessarily.
No, I mean, like,
I don't know. I think to like help.
I think the way I see mishpatim, like things that other religions come to, I think mishpatim generally, like things that other religions generally will include. I think mishpatim generally includes,
Right.
Whereas
without the Torah would accept and
Right. The question is, without Torah, humanity would have come up like with giving assistance, financial or otherwise, to other people in your society? I think so. Yeah, probably, right? So you're giving tzedakah and you feel so good because you're doing something that's right. You're doing something that's good. You're being a mensch. You are doing something that is righteous and justful, right? And along comes the Torah and be like, no, don't fall into that trap. Before you start getting all high because you're helping your neighbor, because you're doing something that you feel is benefiting society, first of all, why are you giving tzedakah? Because God said so. Because God said so. That's the reason. That's the reason I'm giving tzedakah. Not because it's a nice thing to do. Not because like I think like it's gonna help society. No. First of all, I'm doing it because God said so. Oh, now on top of that, okay, now I can start adding all the different like logical reasons for it. Hitbatlus loshem. Zeu hezber lekach shekasher Torah ba. Zeu hezber lekach. Right, I'm on Hitbatlus loshem. Zeu hezber lekach. This is the explanation for Shakasher HaTorah Ba Litzavoseinu, that when the Torah comes to command us, Al Mitzvahs Paraduma, when the Torah is coming to command us on the mitzvah of the red heifer. Ein hi omeris zos chukas hapara. The Torah does not say zos chukas hapara. It doesn't say these are the chukim, right? The illogical or super rational laws of the para, of the cow. That's not what the Torah says. What does it say? Ela zos chukas haTorah. These are the chukim of the Torah. Meaning, it's not just saying these are the laws of a particular mitzvah. It's saying these are the particular. This is the mitzvah. These are the laws of the entire Torah. Where is that? Where is that?
Oh, yesterday was Sunday.
Yeah.
I left her. Dang. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was so confused.
I'm in the part in the bold. Hisbatlus Lashem. Hisbatlus Lashem. Nullification to God. So this is the explanation why, when the Torah is coming to command us in the mitzvah of Paraduma, the red heifer, it doesn't say this is the chok of the red cow. It says this is the chok of the entire Torah. Why? Bezos romezes lanu Torah. With this, the Torah is alluding to us. She'aleinu lilmod mimitzvahs haparaduma, that we have to learn from the mitzvah of the red heifer. Keitzad lekayem es kol mitzvos Torah, how we are to observe and fulfill all of the mitzvahs of the Torah. So, even though the Torah is talking specifically about like this one mitzvah called the red heifer, it's actually teaching us in the same way that you were performing the mitzvah of the red heifer, you have to perform all of the mitzvahs. All of the mitzvahs, right?
It does say that earlier, by the way.
No, it says, I read it not in, I forget which parsha, 3 or 4 parshas ago, it says that when they were discussing Chukas about chukim, right, that you had to have the same attitude for mishpatim and edot to take it on that way. So this is that same flavor.
That's right. That's right. Elazos chukas Torah. This is the chok of the Torah. Bezos remez lanu Torah shalenu lilmod mitzvahs para aduma ketzad lekayim es kol mitzvos Torah. Keshem she'anu mekayim mitzvah zu. The same way that we observe this mitzvah of the red heifer, yeah? Mitoch hisbatlus muchlet l'kadosh baruch hu, simply for the in a state of complete surrender and nullification to God, because there's no logical reason why I'm supposed to take this red cow and shecht it and burn it and take its ashes, and that's what's gonna. The only reason I'm doing it is because that's what Hashem said. So the same way I'm like completely like just like surrendering my mind, my intellect, my logic, and I'm just doing it because God said. Mibli le'arev ba shikulim sichliim umeniim acherim, without mixing any intellectual just rationalization.
Where are you at?
You see where it says hisbatlus l'Shem in bold?
Yeah, that's the first paragraph. Back.
Yeah, I mean it's different in mine, but Zehu hahezber lekach. See the first line? Zehu hahezber lekach. Yeah, so we're like 3 lines in.
4 lines in.
Want me to go back? Zehu hahezber lekach. This is the explanation.
This is not expressed.
Shekasher Torah, that when the Torah Ba'a comes, Litzavoseinu, to command us al mitzvahs paraduma, the mitzvah of the red heifer. Are you with me? You got that?
No, but I'll get that later. But I just need to know where you're at now so I can tell you. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I got the part to that last part from the to the semicolon colon.
Mm-hmm.
The colon.
Yeah.
And then I lost you.
Okay, so Keshem she'anu mekaimim, right after the colon. Keshem she'anu mekaimim mitzvah zu. The same way that we fulfill this mitzvah. How? Mito hisbatlus muchletes l'kadosh baruch hu, with the complete surrender, logical surrender. I'm just giving up. I don't need to figure it out. I'm not Rabbi Rachel that until I completely understand what this mitzvah is about, I ain't doing it.
What is the acronym for the Holy One?
L'kadosh baruch hu.
Oh, okay.
Kuf beis hey. Lamed kuf beis hey.
So what was that again? That part?
Rabbi Rachel probably existed as well. Unfortunately, Rabbi Rachel could probably exist.
Yeah.
So the same way that you fulfill the mitzvah.
The same way we fulfill the mitzvah. Mitoch, like from a place of complete nullification, surrender to God. Because that doesn't make any sense, right? Na'aseh v'nishma. First we'll do and then we'll understand, right? Mi bli la'arev b'shikulim sichliim, without mixing, without interfering with my own intellectual rationalizations. Shikulim sichlim. Shikul is like measurements, right? Like balancing. Like I'm weighing it out. I'm weighing it in my mind. Like, do I understand? Do I not understand? What do I think it's for? If it's something that makes sense, then I'll do it. If it's something that is right in my eyes, I feel this law is not politically correct today. No. You can't behave like that. It's not right. When the Torah says that you need to come into the land and annihilate the nations, yeah? Leave no woman and child behind. No. Nope, not that. I'm not going to do that. Right? Save the whales. Okay? I am not I'm not going to add or mix in any personal intellectual rationalizations. My own considerations. Yeah, my own mania. When a person has like his own desires, it's a mania. What's the word?
Limnoa, from the same Shorash kind of thing?
Limno, yeah, it's like the opposite, but it's like limnoa means to like to prevent. But here is mania also means to like to accelerate. Mania, I have like my own interests, self-interest. That's what it is. Uminiim acharim, like I can't add any of my own self-interest just because it does not fit into my world view, into my paradigm of how I see the world. Okay? So I think that women should be able to wear tefillin and daven with a Sefer Torah at the Holy Western Wall. Okay? Right? And so the Rebbe says, I'm sorry, Rabbi Rachel, but it's I know you really want to feel, that this is like what's going to bring you closer to God, but that ain't what God said. Okay? So we first of all do it mitoch hisbatlus muchleses l'kadosh baruch hu. Complete surrender. I'm like going to put my mind on the side. I don't understand why women can't daven with the Sefer Torah wearing tefillin. I don't understand. If it was up to me, hell yeah, let them party. Absolutely, why not? Power to the people. Girl power. You hear that, Rabbi Rachel? I'm with you. I am with you, girl. Okay? However, I'm bound and I'm limited, my dear. I'm very, very sorry, but it's just like Hashem says no, so it's like, okay. Sorry.
Can I ask you a question?
Hold on, we want to finish. I want to finish here. Hold on.
I wasn't going to take your order.
I'm not going to put my own self-interest. If it was up to me, absolutely, Rabbi Rachel, I'm with you. But I'm not going to it's not about me. It's not about what I think. Frankly, it doesn't matter what I think. Kach aleinu. So too, so just like I fulfilled the mitzvah of the red heifer from a state of complete surrender, and I don't understand it, I'm just going to do it because that's what God says. Kach aleinu lekayem es kol hamitzvos. That's the way that we need to fulfill all of the mitzvahs. Even the most logical ones, I first and foremost have to come from a place of I have no idea why God said to give charity. I have no idea why God said don't kill. I have no idea why God said don't steal. And I'm going to do it because God said so. Gam es eila muvanos lanu, also those that are understood by us. Mitoch hargashasa uvda, from the feeling. Shehen mitzvos shenitanu lanu al yedei Kadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to do it from the feeling that I am doing something that was given to me by God. That the mitzvah is commanding me, it's connecting me to God. That is first and foremost my primary kavana, my intention when doing the mitzvah, and it doesn't matter which mitzvah it is. From the most rational, humanistic mitzvahs to the most illogical and obscure and supra-rational mitzvahs. First and foremost, my primary kavana is I'm doing this as a way to connect to Hashem. Why don't I steal? Because it's not nice. I don't steal because by not stealing, I'm connected to Hashem. Right? So we've gone down, we've graduated from kindergarten, where if you ask your kindergarten, Rivka, your kindergarten teacher, Rivka, why don't you steal? Because it's not nice. Because you wouldn't want people doing it to you. Because you can't live in a functioning society if everybody's just stealing from us. It's not the Wild West. However, we graduated from that level of thinking, and now we're at the level of thinking, why don't I steal? Because by not stealing, I'm connected to God. Every day that you did not murder someone,
It's been a good day. I haven't had to use my AK.
you are connected to God. Yeah? Now, but it's not I'm okay. As long as I didn't kill anybody, no harm done. No, meaning there's this connection that my soul has towards God. And that if, God forbid, I was to murder someone, that particular connection would be cut off from me.
Should you always have it in your mind that you don't want to kill?
Yes. Absolutely. You're fulfilling a mitzvah. L'shem yichud kucha b'richu shchinta. I am remembering the mitzvah of don't murder. Yes, you just did a mitzvah. You are doing a mitzvah every moment that you don't kill someone.
Guys, I'm not going to walk in your room tonight. My wallet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, fine.
I'm trying to understand this because for some reason inside my consciousness just now, it said, why do you have an intellect at all then? Only because of maybe the exercise of free will to put your intellect in its place so you can transcend intellect.
Not only that.
Intellect hardly at all now.
That's a very important aspect. That's not why you got the intellect. You got intellect so you can understand the mitzvahs. However, why? This is like the cataclysmic shift between Chabad and everybody else. That Chabad, the Alter Rebbe, from his Hasidic ideological paradigm, made it his mission to teach people how to be able to understand with your puny, mortal, limited brain, the infiniteness of God. Along come the other Hasid, the majority of the Hasidic movement, not now, but in its inception, the masters. They're whoa. Your puny, mortal brain will never, ever, 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 ever comprehend and understand the infinite God.
It's denying faith then. They're not talking about a faithful individual who transcends the need for his intellect to have converse with God.
They're talking about connecting to Hashem. Because I want to connect to Hashem in the best way. And so, if I try and understand God, inherently I will be limited.
I'll be limited?
I'll be limited because my puny mortal brain can only understand so much, right? Because now it's dependent on how much I know or how little I know, right? I don't want so their approach is, I don't want my relationship with God to be based on the limitations of my intellect, right? I'm not like, God is infinite, and the fact that I have the simple faith. Right? Think of like the Baal Shem Tov stories of like the simple faith of the shepherd. He didn't even know Aleph Beis. He was completely illiterate. But his heart was like completely like connected to Hashem, and like that was the Pintele Yid that the Baal Shem Tov like praised, right? So the early Hasidic movement saw the intellect as something that could like hinder the relationship that you had with God. God is infinite. Don't make it an intellectual relationship. Make it a simple, essential one.
I said, but then why even give me one if it's really the faith is the issue, not the intellect? I could just be made a man of faith. God could be pure faith.
Yeah.
Then why the intellect is going to cause me to have a dynamic relationship?
Because the intellect is not for the relationship. The intellect is for knowing what to do. You need to learn Talmud. You need to learn halacha. You need to know like Torah, right? You want to learn God's Torah. You need a ganzakap. You need an intellect. You need a brain. You need right. So to learn Gemara, to learn Torah, to learn halacha, to learn Chumash, and to learn like all the nuances of Torah, you absolutely need intellect. But when it comes to faith, when it comes to understanding God, I don't understand God. God is infinite. So their approach was, don't even try. We have a Rebbe, right? Their approach. We have a tzaddik, a Rebbe. He is on the level that he's like, he can understand God. Me? So vicariously, though, through like being connected to a Rebbe, he's like feeding me my faith. You guys are learning, right? The faithful shepherd, right? That's right. The fact that I'm connected to a tzaddik, I'm connected to a Rebbe. He's now like feeding me the faith. I'm good. I don't need to understand God, right? How could you like? It's like chutzpah to say like you could possibly like even like think about like understanding God, right? Along comes the Alter Rebbe, and he's like, "You're right, except you still need to understand God." Oh, but you can't understand the infinite God. That's true. That's true. However, the fact that the simple faith that you have will only be this makif connection, relationship with Hashem. And as long as it's makif means like external or surrounding, transcending. What it means, though, is that it will not really have any impact on the transformation of your animal soul. The only way to actually transform your animal soul, to like refine your midas, to refine your ego, is when you take that divine infinite godliness and you stick it into your brain. And when it comes into your brain and you understand it and you internalize it and it becomes like part of you, just like you are what you eat. The bread that you eat like materializes into your body. So too, that understanding of godliness will materialize into your brain, and that will refine every single like nerve cell and fiber of your being.
Still an incomplete understanding.
Incomplete, that's right, incomplete. The Alter Rebbe says, yeah, that's right. Obviously, you're not going to know everything, but what you do know, however little it might be, will have a tremendously powerful effect, infinitely more so than just the simple faith.
Okay,
So there's an advantage and there's a disadvantage of both of them.
So that's why we're instructed that even though this is the incomprehensible, we still have to learn about the incomprehensible, even though we essentially cannot grasp it.
Correct. Correct. And that's where the Hasidim like went to war, like even against the Alter Rebbe. That was like where the divergence of like the two philosophical, two ideologies. Like you have Chabad, Chochma, Bina, and Das, which is like let's just learn like thousands and thousands and thousands of books trying to understand godliness. Where if you go to like the general Hasidic movement, like you could probably fill all of their like Hasidic books on like one shelf. You know how I know? Because I have all of them. Okay? I have all those books. It's literally one shelf like this. See, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe 5, not 6. 5 shelves. Every single Hasidic book in existence, 5 shelves. Right? It's very general. It's very like heartwarming. It's like, oh, it's like geschmack, but it's not like, it's like a mimer. It's not like going into like the details of the details of the details of talking about levels of godliness and or makif and or panimi and atzmus and giluim and
How many shelves?
yeah. Just look at the library. This is not even it. Go to like Levi Yitzchak. Go to like YG. Okay, go to YG and like just start counting. Yeah. Go to YG and start looking at like all the books that like Chabad has like pumping out, just purely of trying to intellectually like comprehend, understand God. Yeah.
I think Rabbi Ginsburg says what you do is contemplate that you are nothing and something, and then nothing and something.
Yeah, that's great. That's very nice. That's very general though. That's very general, right? But Chabad is like it's not just Chochma. Chochma is general. It's also Bina. Bina is details. Break it down, look at the specifics, understand it. Look at it from like a scientifical perspective. Right?
I think an understanding of God is kind of like a garden. And I'm biased because that's my job, but at the same
All right, give it to us, man.
I think it's like, I don't know, like whenever I was when I first got to Tzfat, I met some people, I was hanging out, and it was with some people who work at the tunnels under the city.
Okay, right.
And so they work with a lot of like birthright groups, and they're asking some other people I was with like some sort of birthrighty questions, because the other people were more secular, so they're asking like, what do you think when you think of God? What do you consider? Which is a good question, But like it's a weird question, because it used to be something I think about a lot. I don't really think about that much anymore.
Okay.
Because it's like because again, it's like it's not something like, the idea that like if you for some people it's a really easy answer when you say, well, what's God? Ask like
God is love.
Exactly, like it's like, or it's God. It's like yeah,
right.
Or it'll say God is everything, and it's like that's not wrong,
right?
Or you'll say, God is Jesus Christ, and maybe that's not as correct. But I'm like, God is, but even the things that I've like previously agreed with, like God is everything, God is love, God is light, these are things that's like, yeah, that's true, but it's like it feels like a weird thing to say.
Right. Because it's limiting.
Yeah, but when I say God, like an understanding of God is like a garden, it's like, because when you work in a garden, there's like, it's a lot of things. Right. It's like saying God is saying God is love is like saying, well, garden is eggplant. Right. It's like there's a lot of stuff that happens, a lot of things that shift around. The only way to be wrong about it is to not work it.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Let it overgrow.
In Talmudic literature, it's called al derech shlila. Yeah. Shlila means negation. Like I can't understand the thing, I can just tell you what it's not.
Yeah, it's Rambam, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was like I've heard before, like the only proper phrase when you say God is and love or whatever, right? Just God is. Right. That's it. Yeah. Everything
but
else
like even
will have some sort of.
But even like that, God is okay. Fine.
It's not.
Right.
It's not.
That's right.
It's not fully explaining, but it's not. Everything else still limits God, because you can't limit God.
That's right. That's right.
At least with that, it's not.
God is, but also God isn't.
That's right. Like God would never do such a thing like that. If God is a good God, then how could He let that happen? Like I don't know. Why don't you ask Him? Okay, I have no idea. I'm not here to like rationalize God and like tell you what he is or what he's not. Why would you do that? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
So when you're talking about the Chabad versus the rest of Hasidim, doesn't Kabbalah try to kind of not answer the question, but try to explain God to some capacity?
Kabbalah is trying to explain how God is like creating and sustaining reality. Yeah,
but that's different than trying to understand our relationship. Don't all Hasidim incorporate Kabbalah?
No.
Oh.
I was also shocked and surprised and shocked to learn that. If you walk in to any like normal, like general, like Hasidic yeshiva, non-Chabad Hasidic yeshiva, Gur, Bells, Tzans, whoever, just go down. Like from the morning till the evening, I want you to like tell me what their Seder is.
It's probably in Yiddish, so I don't know anymore.
They're probably in Yiddish, but you can look at the books. The books aren't in Yiddish. I'll tell you what you're learning. What? They're learning Halach and Gemara, just like the Litvaks. No different. The only institution that actually fully incorporates learning about God in the curriculum as part of like the academy's curriculum, the yeshiva's curriculum, Chabad. And Breslov. I will say also Breslov they're also learning, right? As part. But it's mostly like, yeah, fine, no Breslov.
Other Chassid groups also have Chassidut though. They just like don't like spread it as much like among the people. It's not like their main focus or anything like that.
The other Chassid groups?
Yeah.
Usually
the Rebbe Mitzan's Tzvi Elimelech, I think is his name. I'm pretty sure he is like Chassid and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Rebbe Mitzan's Chassid, like the previous one.
A Rebbe, yeah. And even a Chassid, yeah. You know what, I used to like, years and years and years ago, it was like a Thursday night, and like I would see like a group of like 5 or 6, like 7 Hasidim, like they would open up some like, for Bryson, like, some like potato chips and stuff, and like sit around the table, and then they would open up like, like Kedushas Levi or something. Yeah? And they would like learn. But like, that was probably it. Like once a week, maybe from like somebody that was like teaching them for like an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
What about
maybe, right? And it's just they're learning very general Chassidus. Kedushas Levi is amazing. I mean, Kedushas Levi is Kedushas Levi, right?
I thought Tanya had actually infiltrated into those.
Some, yeah, but not as part of the curriculum. Not as part of the curriculum. Maybe like extracurricular activity at night, free time, sure. But like as part of the curriculum, no way. No way. So today, like most like non-Chabad like Hasidic yeshivas, they're like you can't tell them apart from like non-Hasidic yeshivas.
What about like the Sephardic yeshivas?
I'm talking about as far as the curriculum. The curriculum.
What about like the Sephardi yeshivas? Some of them still study Kabbalah in Jerusalem.
Sephardi Kabbalah is a little bit different. They study Kabbalah. Not all of them.
Kabbalah.
Not all. You have to go to like a specifically like a Kabbalistic academy, yeshiva, to learn. And also they will learn like outside of normal Seder times. So either you wake up at midnight, or you wake up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But nobody's learning Kabbalah like during Seder.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yochanan HaKohen, that's what he does.
Yochanan HaKohen, Pinchas, the Brazilian guy? Yeah. So, anyways, how did we get to this? Okay, so it's about understanding, right? So I'm doing the mitzvah. My first and foremost primary kavana, my intention of why I'm doing the mitzvah is because it's connecting me to God, right? Oh yeah, so there was like kindergarten level, which is like, because God said so. But now there's like another level, which is like, I'm doing this because it connects me to God. Why don't you kill? Because it connects me to God. Why don't you steal? Connects me to God. Why do you give charity? It connects me to God. Yeah? So the para aduma, the red heifer, is an example of something that like transcends logic. And so therefore the only reason you're doing it is because it connects you to God. Zos Chukas HaTorah. Why does it say these are the laws of the Torah? It doesn't say these are the laws of the red cow. These are the chukos, the chukim of the Torah, which means that all of the mitzvahs have to be done in the same way, with the same kavana, like I do with the red cow, with the red heifer. Does that make sense? Okay, we got this little...
Yeah, but it's strange. It makes sense in the way you explained it. But on another level, it doesn't make sense because this is a mitzvah that can only be done when there's a temple.
Correct, right.
There's all this special stuff.
That's right.
All the support network.
That's right.
But we can't really do it now, so we don't have that example.
Not physically, but
it's described,
right.
And so it's a little bit abstract, as opposed to concretely, this is the way we should do it.
Well, because we can't physically do the mitzvah, but nonetheless the intention for the mitzvah. That's what we can do, right? So even though we can't physically...
I don't want it to sound like a complaint, it's just
no.
puzzling to dwell on this one versus maybe another hukim that doesn't make sense.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so this is what the Torah was explaining. This is how Chassidus is explaining the peculiar wording when it's talking about the red heifer. Zos chukas Torah, yeah? Vaikulachad, you took a red cow. It doesn't say Zos chukas para. It doesn't say you shall take. Sorry, these are the laws of the cow. These are the laws of the Torah. Dope. Last section. Ksiva v'chakika. Oh, what is the difference between writing versus engraving? Musbar b'Torah Chasidus, that is explained in the Torah of Hasidic teachings. Shabitui chuka, that the word chuka, which is laws, we said, supra-rational laws, miskasher im hakika, it has the same root letters as the word for engraved, or like etched. Yeah? Hakika. Yesh shtei tzuros klalios shel ksiva. There are two general ways that you can write something. Bidyo al klaf v'chakika be'evan. Bidyo al klaf, which is ink on paper, on parchment, and you can engrave it in stone. Yeah, these are the two ways, two modes for like, I don't know, writing? How would you call that? Like, writing.
What about typing?
Typing is ink on parchment.
On a computer, it's not.
All right, so we're not going to get into like digital realm here. We'll try and figure that out later. But here, for all intents and purposes, it's either ink on parchment or it's engraving in stone. Ha'hevdel beineim, the difference between them. Shakasher anu kosvim bidyo, that when we write with ink, yesh kan ischabrus shel shnei dvarim zarim dio v'niar, that when you write ink on paper, you're essentially taking two completely unique, separate things, and you're putting them together. Leumas zos, however, on the other hand, keshe'anu chokekim osios besocha even, that when you are engraving letters in stone, ein otios davar zarn v'nifran me'even, the letters that you are engraving the stone are not something that are separate than the stone itself, right? It literally is the stone. The letters are one with the stone. Yeah.
Hold on. All right, so we're on. You just interpreted
Where? Yeah, Lumazos Keshe'anu Chokekim, when we engrave Osios Bisocha Evan, when we engrave letters in the stone. Ein ha'otzios, the letters are not davar zar, something that is foreign, v'nifrad me'even, and separate from the stone itself. Elahen chelek mimena, rather it is part of it, part of the stone. Achakika mesamelet, the engraving signifies, efo haba'a tehora v'neki'ah. The engraving signifies a pure and clean expression, pure and clean from any additives or additions. Additions or mixtures. Yeah? When you're engraving, you're not adding anything. When you take ink onto paper, you're adding something onto the paper.
An engraving subtracts.
And engraving subtracts, right? But it's not like two things. You're just it's literally like the stone is still there, right? And the difference between them is that one is like eternal, you could say, whereas one is temporary. Why? Because you can actually take like a knife, right? We're not talking about like this type of ink, like the type of ink like on a Sefer Torah or like in a mezuzah, where when you like write it, it's bolet, what do you say? It's like protrudes, right? Which means like you can actually take a knife and like cut out those letters. You can like scrape them off, right?
But in engraving, you can
But in
add more to it.
You could, but you can't take away like the letters that are there because it's part of the stone. It's not something additional. Kacha mitzvos shemigdaros chukim. So too the mitzvahs that are classified or categorized as chukim, mivatos is a kesher hatahor, express the pure connection shel Yehudim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the pure connection between a Jew and God. That's right. The Chok, the Rebbe is now bringing it down where he's like connecting this idea of engraving to this idea of the Chok. We said when you fulfill a mitzvah that is categorized as a Chok, which completely like supersedes, transcends your own limited logic. But that's the most essential connection. And he says that's why the same word for Chok is the same word for engraving. Because when you perform this mitzvah, you and like God are becoming like engraved as one. It's not like something foreign where you're now doing a mitzvah for like some creator that is just like, here, just do my bidding. And now I and the creator are just like two separate things, but I'm just doing what he wants. No, the mitzvah that we do is connecting us, not like ink on paper, which are two separate things, but it's like internal connection. It's an essential connection because the letters are part of the stone. Yeah. So the engraving of the chukim. So when I perform a mitzvah, from the first and foremost fundamental kavana, intention, that I'm doing this as a way of connecting to Hashem, it's connecting me in the deepest and most essential way. I'm becoming one with God. Kasher sheinu mevusas al sechel v'regesh. When the mitzvah that you do is not on the basis of intellect and emotion, or kol miniya enoshi acher, or any other human self-interest, personal interest, or motivation. That's what it is. Miniya is motivation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tziva, just the fact that Hashem commanded, v'adam mekayem b'simcha, and that we fulfill with joy. Right? That's like the foundation. That's not the end-all, be-all. Right? That's what a lot of people like have a quip with. 20 years ago when I came to Israel, fresh off the boat from India, right? And people were like, just do it because God said so. I was like, hell no. I got to understand, right? That was me, right? Me and Rabbi Rachel were like, I'm not doing it until you explain, right? So first of all, like you got to transcend that by first of all saying, no, you do it because God said so. Okay, now you have that as your base. Okay, now you can start to understand. Now you can start to learn and explore and like dig and go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, but as long as like you are like anchored in the kavana that I'm doing this as a super rational, complete surrender to God, now you can learn all you want. Now you can understand all you want. But the basis is always going to be anchored in that in the chok.
So what was that last translation from Shikol?
Where?
Shikol.
Not kasha.
We need to understand.
Kach mitzvos shemugdaras chukim mevatos is a kesher tahor shel Yehudim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They express the pure connection between a yid and God. Kesher sheino mevusas, and a connection that is not based on intellect or emotion. Oh, I don't feel like putting on tefillin today. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm not into it. It's like, it's not vibing. Isn't that what the youngsters say today? It's not vibing. I'm not vibing with it. What? How do I sound, Yaakov? Yeah? Do I sound like one of these like old timers on TikTok? Yeah, it's vibing. This is fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I did it.
Fire's outdated?
Not in the way you use it. It is. Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's cool. I use it too.
All right, fine. So it's not like I'm not vibing. Okay, now like Shabbos, right? Like I don't know. I just got like I gotta go to the beach. I gotta like hang out, right? No. When your foundation is not whether it's vibing or not, when it's not founded on intellect or emotion or any other self-interest or motivation, just because God said so. Zos mosere Yehudi es atzmo. With this, a Jew gives himself completely lelo t'nai HaKadosh Baruch Hu, without any condition, unconditionally. He gives himself unconditionally to God. Hold on, 2 more lines. Kishehu muchan mirosh, when he is like from the get-go, he is prepared. Lekayim is kol asher yitzaveh, when he is prepared to fulfill whatever God asks of him. Asechel va'avana ba'im b'shlav sheni, but then the intellect and the understanding, they come as the second stage. They come on top of that. That's not the foundation. They come as like the second story. The foundation, first and foremost, I completely surrender to God. I'll do it even though I don't understand. You got that base? Okay, now second story. Go deep. Go hard. Don't stop. Do not take because God said so for an answer. Don't stop there. Keep going.
So this says like,
So can you translate to the comma again?
to fulfill all the mitzvahs.
Keshehu mucham mirosh, when he is ready from the beginning. Lekayim is kol asher yitzaveh. He's ready to fulfill everything that God will command. He will command. Hasechel v'havana ba'im, the intellect and the understanding, come b'shlav sheni. Come as a second phase or second stage. V'ilu habasis, the basis, hu haratzon ha'elyon, the supernal will, v'hasimcha, the joy, al etzem aschus, that the joy that you have for the sole purpose of having the merit, lemales rason Hashem, to fulfill the will of God, ulis kasher imo, and to connect to Him. Right? That should bring you the greatest joy. The joy that transcends the intellect. First of all, I was like, wait a second, I am connected to God. Like that's like the simple like Hasidisha like emunah. Right? They're dancing and they're like they're on fire, praying with like dveikus. Because do you even know who you're praying to? No. I'm just praying to God. Yeah? So that gives like the joy and the awesome, the pleasure and the excitement and the passion. But again, that's just the basis. Then on top of that, you have the intellect. Tov, Ad Kan, Razad Yehuda.